Sony have just given a bunch of new release dates and windows for PlayStation 5 games in 2021. PlayStation 5 is outpacing the PS4 in terms of sales, despite constantly being out of stock. And it looks like Star Wars isn't exclusive to EA. We're going to be covering off all of those news stories, as well as looking at the new games this week and the new trophies on PSN Profiles in this week's episode of the Platinum Trophy Show. Let's start. Hey folks, welcome back. If you're a new viewer of the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. I make new videos about PlayStation every single day on the channel, so hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date. This is the Platinum Trophy Show. This is for the 15th of January 2021. The Platinum Trophy Show is our weekly PlayStation news show. We take a look at all the latest news stories from PlayStation. We also take a look at all the new release games coming out in the PlayStation Store and the new trophies that have popped up on PSN Profiles. And we do a bit of an analysis and a discussion about everything, so you can click on one video and kind of get everything you need to get from it. Now this week we actually have a ton of new news for PlayStation. We don't have a lot of new games or anything like that, but we have a bunch of news stories. Now, I think I'm gonna make this the title of the video, which is that PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X sales reportedly outpacing PS4 and Xbox One during the same time period. This boggles my mind. Now this is over on PSU, and they've got this story here about how the PlayStation 5 sales are outpacing the PS4 sales for the same time period. How is that even possible? I don't understand. The PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X/S are off to a solid start according to GI.biz Christopher Dring, who has revealed that the new consoles from Sony and Microsoft are both selling more than the PS4 and Xbox One achieved during the same time period when they launched. Keeping in mind, they released in November 2013, so the same month 7 years ago. Sony and Microsoft's latest consoles were released in the US and UK in November 2020, although the PS5 has a slightly staggered release date compared to the Xbox XS. He also revealed an interesting nugget about PS4 and Xbox One sales below. More PS5s and Xbox Series consoles were sold compared to PS4s and Xbox Ones over the same period when they launched. It's pretty impressive. Also, Xbox One and PS4 combined have not sold a couple of 100 million. Interesting little tidbit. That's really all there is to it. I find this fascinating, and it's for a couple of reasons. I didn't think the PS5 would outpace the PS4 this much. Not only is it priced slightly higher, I mean, technically the discless model isn't, it's priced the same. But on top of that, it's been sold out for literally, I don't know, what, 10 weeks at this point? 9 weeks since it released, I suppose, which also kind of boggles the mind slightly as well. I'm just kind of surprised that it's outpaced it. I don't know, did you guys expect this? I'm not sure if this is actually a big deal or not, or if it's just me making a mountain out of a molehill, but I feel like it's kind of surprising. It's cool. It means that console gaming is very much alive. It's very much not dead. People still want the Series X despite there being no exclusives on it. Game Pass is great, don't get me wrong. I love Game Pass, and I actually do use my Series X for Game Pass, so makes sense. And the PS5 as well, despite only having 4 or 5 exclusives on it. So it's an interesting situation for sure. It's definitely something I was shocked to see. I really do wonder what that's going to mean. I was anticipating initially that the PS5 would underpace the PS4 purely based on price. This had nothing to do with stock, and maybe my predictions are completely wrong. Maybe it's going to completely outpace the PS4 over the next 12 months, and I guess it's going to be a really interesting 12 months to see that. Sony have definitely got the lineup of games to match that, so it's definitely their game to win. Okay, next up we have Dying Light 2 writer and art director is leaving Techland, again over on PSU. This is interesting. So the original story was that Prowl Sillinger, gotta get that right, the art director and writer of Techland's upcoming Dying Light 2 has confirmed on his LinkedIn profile that he is leaving the developer. This game is weird. It's been in a weird place because Dying Light came out in 2014, 2015, and then this game's kind of meandered a little bit. It got revealed quite a few years ago now, and it's just kind of sat there stagnating. I'm guessing they're working on it, but it's weird that it's taken them so long for this game to finally come out, so I don't know what's actually going on here. The update here says Techland has provided us with a statement on the departure of Prowl. It says, in connection with the information about the departure of Techland's art director, he would like to reassure all fans of the upcoming Dying Light 2 that the position of art director is not threatened and has been held by Eric. I'm not going to pronounce his last name. Since November 2019, Eric has been taking care of every aspect of the upcoming production. So they're basically saying it's all okay. I find it weird that a prominent person within a studio decides to depart the studio just before a game's coming out, or while the game is in production, post-production, or when the game is released. It makes sense to me because you've kind of finished the project you're working on, you're ready for your next thing. But if you've been working on this game for like 5 years, and just take it from any perspective, if you've been working on a project at your work for 5 years and it's coming near the end, would you leave just before the game came out? I don't know, it feels weird. I don't know if this is cause for alarm for Dying Light 2 fans or not. I guess the delays in the game are probably cause enough for alarm, but yeah. Who knows when this game's actually going to come out now, and whether this will impact the release of the game and the quality of the game, or if this is a sign that the game may potentially be in trouble, and I don't know if it is. It could be. Do we care about Dying Light 2 at this point as well? I think we probably still do. I think Dying Light was a good game. I never actually finished it. I played bits of it, never completed it. Definitely on my list of things I need to do. Speaking of which, I think it could be a good game to stream over on Twitch. That's an awkward Twitch plug, but I do stream over on Twitch every Wednesday and every Friday. Twitch.tv/TPTS. Come and follow me over there and come and watch me play some games. I thought this was cool. Insomniac have made this statement about Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart DualSense features will make each weapon feel unique. This is cool. DualSense, if you are aware, if you have a PS5, I actually don't have a PS5 controller with me. I've only got a PS4 one right here in the office, but the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers on the DualSense controller really do feel quite unique, especially in Astro's Playroom when you're pulling the bow back or flying the ship. There's a lot of force on the triggers. I do have a separate video on the channel about the haptic feedback and the triggers in Call of Duty if you want to go and check out what it looks like. I think I've illustrated it quite well in that video. They're saying here the guns are all going to feel uniquely different. Ratchet and Clank is always so well known for having a variety of weaponry in their games, and now having like an actual distinction between this, maybe a blaster feeling different to the bomb glove and things like that, I'm really excited with what they can do with it. Insomniac are a fantastic developer, so I have 100% faith that these guys are going to do something really cool and unique with this particular feature of DualSense. It says here, speaking with Games Radar, developer Insomniac Games, who revealed the upcoming Ratchet & Clank will take advantage of DualSense controller. According to Mike Daly, the game's director, the dynamic duo's latest outing will make every weapon feel unique, thanks to haptic feedback included in Sony's new controller. Here's what he had to say, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically, our burst pistol, for example, can be fired accurately by pulling the trigger up into a middle threshold, or you can pull through it and go at the cost of accuracy. That is so cool. I can't believe we're at a place in gaming where this is a thing. I dug it in Call of Duty as well. I really liked the force feedback and the triggers. I know a lot of people didn't because it makes their competitive play not so good, but from like just an immersion and a fun perspective, it was really cool to mess around with. This really excites me for Ratchet & Clank, probably one of my most anticipated upcoming PS5 titles, as well as maybe Horizon with the crossbow mechanics. I think those are going to be really neat as well. Okay, Biomutant. I don't know if you guys are aware about Biomutant. It's this game that's been like lingering and supposedly coming out every year for the past like 4 years now. It's a THQ published game, fantasy RPG style game. I actually am going to do a separate video on Biomutant. This game has fascinated me from the moment it got revealed. The first trailer and the key art for the game, it's quite unique and really did actually excite me for the game like way back in 2017, I believe, when they announced it. The game has like just been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, but they're not really concrete on when the game's coming out. Over here, they've said that Biomutant release date narrowed down by THQ Nordic boss. I don't know if you believe that or not. It's been narrowed down multiple times. It's supposed to be coming out multiple times in 2020 even, and it never did. Speaking during the interview with GI.biz, CEO of THQ Nordic has seemingly narrowed down the Biomutant release date following multiple delays. According to Cruzier, the game will be out this quarter, which means before April 1st. I'll believe that when I see it. I don't know, do you guys know much about Biomutant? Are you familiar with this game franchise, or have you just heard of it for the first time right now? Curious to get your thoughts in the comment section below. It's something you have heard of and you're kind of curious about it, or you haven't and you're curious about it. Would you be interested in me making a whole video about it? Because I would quite like to, because this is kind of a weird development cycle, and the way it's been delayed very silently and not talked about multiple times is very unusual. It's not like a standard AAA or AA developer to do what they've done with this game. Normally, if they delay a game like Dying Light 2, for example, like we talked about earlier, they let you know about it. They don't just silently miss the release date and then move the date out without saying anything. It's quite unusual. Anyway, let me know. Curious to get your thoughts if you want to see that. If you don't, let me know as well. So there's been a bunch of Resident Evil 8 stuff pop up this week around new gameplay releasing and some free avatar items and things like that. So I'm going to be going over the news stories about it, as well as this new beta for the game, plus the code for the free avatar items as well, which you can use if you've got a North American PlayStation account, I believe. So you can check that out as well. Now the first part of this is Resident Evil Village PS5 gameplay showcase set for January 21 release date. New reveals likely. That is such a mouthful of a headline, PSU. Basically here it says Capcom has announced that Resident Evil Village gameplay will be shown on January 21st, that's next week, giving a new look at Resident Evil 8 and the first guided walkthrough of gameplay. So we get to finally see actual gameplay of the game, an extended gameplay demo, and I'll probably do a separate video about that as well because I really do love Resident Evil 8, or I really do love Resident Evil. The thing about this though is this has to mean there's a release date getting announced. It has to mean they're going to announce a date for this game at the end of it, and that's probably what gets me a bit more excited. You've got this tweet here saying tune into the showcase on January 21st from the Resident Evil account at re_games. I think it's going to lead into a announcement date or a release date for the game. My guess is the game is probably going to come out in a similar window to previous Resident Evil games, maybe in that sort of April-May type window, maybe pushed a little bit further back. I think Resident Evil 3 and 2 came out in March, if I'm correct, so I'm guessing this is going to be something like April-May. It would shock me if it's any later in the year than that. Being a Japanese publisher and developer, they traditionally like to release their games at the beginning of the calendar year, normally January, February, March, but given we don't have a date yet, guessing it's going to be pushed a little bit further back. Just my 2 cents on that. Who knows? Could be completely wrong on that one. But we're going to be seeing some new Resident Evil stuff this week, which I'm pretty pumped about. You guys know I love Resident Evil. Resident Evil 7 is my favorite game in the franchise, and this is a direct follow-up to that game. I'm a little bit nervous that they won't be able to top what they did in Resident Evil 7. I think that game did a lot of stuff that I just don't know. I just don't know if they can match that, but I really do hope they do. Now, if you're curious, you can actually get a free avatar item for the Resident Evil Village Vampire Lady. So here we have the PSN Avatar available with this PlayStation Store code. So you can download this for free and you can use it on your PlayStation Store if you have a North American PlayStation account. The code is this one here that I'm showing up on the screen now. So LEJH M8N9E5XF. And this code here, you'll unlock the Vampire Lady avatar item. This is kind of, I mean, it's an avatar item, so it's nothing particularly special, but it's kind of cool that they're giving you a free thing for this reveal of the game, for this Resident Evil showcase thing that they're promoting at the moment. So if you want that, go ahead and download it. I think you do have to have a North American account, but you can probably use, you know, a dummy account if you don't have one, if you're somewhere in Europe or something like that. The last part of the Resident Evil news is around this Resident Evil closed beta test for mystery PS4/PS5 title confirmed for 25th anniversary. I actually thought the Resident Evil 25th anniversary had happened. I'm pretty sure I have a t-shirt that has, maybe it's 20th anniversary. It must be 20th anniversary. As part of the Resident Evil 25th anniversary celebrations, Capcom has announced that fans can now sign up for a closed beta for an as yet unconfirmed title in the Resident Evil series. This game could very well be the previously leaked Resident Evil Outrage that was leaked in an earlier Capcom leak from last year. This obviously being some sort of multiplayer-centric Resident Evil game, which is something they've been trying to do for a number of years with their Umbrella Core, and then even the multiplayer mode that they tacked on to RE3 as well. Resident Evil and Capcom have been trying to break into the multiplayer space with these games for a number of years now. One thing I will say, whether it's good or bad, is I appreciate that they've separated it out from RE8. I think keeping RE8 separate as its own entity in its own game and having this multiplayer thing over here means that RE8 can kind of just have its own place as its own traditional Resident Evil game, first person, horror, spooky, single player, and then you've got this multiplayer component as well. My guess for this is that they're probably going to be dabbling in some sort of, it's either going to be some sort of isometric style thing similar to a Dead by Daylight or a Hunt, or they're going to be looking at some sort of battle royale type thing. Otherwise, I don't know what they're doing that's wholly unique here. Maybe it's just another traditional multiplayer game where it's team v team or free-for-all, whatever it may be. But if they do something like that, it's nothing special, it's nothing new. I think the way that this could really work in a way that's kind of meaningful would be to take elements from previous Resident Evil games, multiplayer components, and then look at things like Hunt and how they could incorporate something with humans versus zombies, with people turning into zombies. It's something along those lines. That's the only way I can really see it working. Isometric, I think, would be really cool. You could have this sort of tug-of-war type thing. It's not done by a ton of people, and obviously it works in the horror franchise because we've got like 2 or 3 isometric horror games. So I don't know, interesting that we've got these 3 Resident Evil announcements. Let me know what you guys think of all of these. Make sure you redeem that code. I don't know how long it's going to last for, so redeem that code so you can get access to that free Avatar item if you're in North America. Yeah, curious to get your thoughts on these. Are you excited for Resident Evil 8's reveal? What do you think of this Resident Evil multiplayer sort of thing that they're teasing? Yeah, do you guys care? And I wonder what they're going to be doing for the rest of their 25th anniversary. When I was in, it must have been the 20th anniversary, I was in Tokyo for that event, and they did so much stuff with pop-up stores and merchandise. It was so cool, and as a Resident Evil fan, I bought so many t-shirts that unfortunately are way too big for me now because I've reduced my body size significantly since then. But very excited for Resident Evil 25th anniversary. Can't wait to see what's revealed next week. Okay, and what was probably one of the more shocking stories this week, Star Wars games now labeled under Lucasfilms Games, seemingly dropping EA banner and branding. So Lucasfilms Games was an entity that was making Star Wars games, I think about 6 or 7 years ago now. Famously, they were working on this Star Wars 1313 bounty hunting looking game, which looked fantastic and for all intents and purposes looked very close to being done before it was kind of scrapped by Disney when they kind of bought all the Star Wars stuff back in-house at Disney. And after that acquisition of Lucas by Disney, they did shut down a lot of those divisions, and Star Wars kind of got like fished out to EA as the exclusive rights holder to produce Star Wars games. It appears that that's changed. So over here it says Lucasfilms has announced that all Star Wars games will now be bought under the umbrella of Lucasfilms Games, dropping the EA branding and banner, which has been in place since 2013. So there you go. The deal with EA signed, gaining exclusive rights to development and publishing of Star Wars games, appear to have been in place, but the branding will now be more universal. There is no official word on if EA will continue to have branding placed in their logo of all their titles so far. It's really interesting that they've gone and done this. They've done the similar thing that Disney have done with Marvel, where they've produced this sort of Marvel Game Studios thing, which has produced, you know, some great games like Iron Man VR and Spider-Man and Avengers, which is not so great, but interesting that they've gone ahead and done a very similar thing. I think this is good. It allows for greater quality control of that brand, and you know, realistically, we've had some good Star Wars games out of EA with Squadrons as well as Jedi Fallen Order, but we've also had some pretty bad ones with Battlefront. You know, there was a little bit of lack of quality control, I would say, there. Having an entity like Lucasfilms Games sort of looking after these things, I would think will allow better quality control. But the coolest part about this is it means that other developers and publishers can actually make Star Wars games now, and they can have their own unique take on them. Namely, Ubisoft being one of the publishers who are actually working on a Star Wars game here, and this was sort of published in that same blog article about EA and Lucasfilms Games and things like that. But it means that Ubisoft are actually working on an open world Star Wars game too. Don't know if that scares people or if that keeps people excited or anticipation for a game. I think Ubisoft are a pretty good developer, to be honest. I think they're a pretty good publisher and developer. I know they have some weird practices and things, but pound for pound, I would say most of their games, 95% of their games are pretty decent. Even though I don't particularly play them, they're pretty high quality titles. So seeing them tackle something like Star Wars could be very good. I don't know, who else would you want to see tackle a Star Wars game? Is there another publisher or developer you would really love to see tackle a game like this, or would you rather it stay with EA? I think this is good. I think all it does is allows more people with that license, which means that you've got a better chance of getting a high quality Star Wars game out of it, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, pound for pound. Still on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order PS5 update breaks down, shows game looks virtually identical to Xbox Series X. Now that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order PS5 update is out, as it was released earlier this week, Digital Foundry has taken a look at the game running on next-gen consoles and found that there are virtually no discernible difference between platforms. Good for everyone involved, I suppose. The PS5, you are limited to just a fixed performance mode rather than a quality mode, available on the Xbox Series X and on the PS4 Pro. The resolution on PS5 is locked at 120p with 1440p post-processing. However, the game looks almost identical. Thing about this is it's part of EA Access at the moment, so if you have EA Access, you can get Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as part of that subscription service on both Xbox and on PS5. Cool that they've done a PS5 update for this game. I hope we see more PS5 updates for games like this. This game is actually really good. If you haven't played it yet and you do have a PS5, could be worth checking out. If you own the PS4 version, you've already played it, probably not worth your time though. Now, Maneater is obviously free on PlayStation Plus this month for PS5 users. If you don't have a PS5 yet, still add it to your library, go onto the web store or the app, add it to your library so you do have it for free. The developers have said here, Man-Eater developers confirmed DLC is on the way to sink your teeth into. This is something that kind of surprises me because I thought when I played Man-Eater, I felt that it was kind of thin in terms of content, so I'm surprised they have more content coming. But it says here, Tripwire Interactive announced during a Reddit AMA that sharp-toothed RPG Man-Eater will be receiving DLC at some point. The game is currently available as part of PS Plus games for PS5 users. DLC has been confirmed. The team have been working on it for a while now, hoping to share more information very soon. So yeah, Man-Eater's getting some DLC content. Probably going to be some trophies with that as well. So make sure you add it to your library so you can play this when you do get a PS5 if you don't already have one. Man-Eater's a great game. Go check it out. Easy platinum trophies on it too. Worth your time. It's a good game. Very strange collaboration here. The new Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 update adds Sonic the Hedgehog. I guess Sonic was in Fall Guys this year, so probably not hugely surprising, but Sega has announced that the new Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 update is going live on all platforms and adds a wealth of new content, including Sonic the Hedgehog as a playable character. The blue blur isn't the only new face in Puyo Puyo Tetris either. I don't know who any of these other characters are, so I'm not even going to try and announce them, but Sega have collaborated with themselves and added more characters into their game. I guess it's cool. They're doing more stuff with Sonic, which is not a bad thing. Sonic's kind of been left up to his own devices a lot of late, so it's good to keep Sonic in line, I think. By the way, I've been playing Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. It's just Tetris and Puyo Puyo, but it's good. It's just a good game. It's so simple, very satisfying as well. If you like Tetris or puzzle games or anything like this, it's good to check out. It's hard platinum, but it's worth checking out. It's a fun game. It's a fun game. All right, this really shocked me. That the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor servers have closed, but you can still get the trophies. This never happens, guys. This never happens. We never have a situation where a publisher announces a server closure with online trophies, multiplayer trophies, and then they patch it and the trophies are available. I sat down and thought about this. I can't come up with an instance where another developer has done this like well. I know Destiny did it with a few of their trophies. So many developers just ignore this. You know, we have publishers and developers like Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which had its servers shut off. They had the League mode turned off, which had trophies tied to it, and they never even patched anything like this. So it's fascinating to see that WB have gone ahead and done this. I'm going to read through the story, but it means that if you didn't get the Vendetta-based trophy, you can still unlock the Platinum, which is incredible. Hats off to them. So WB Interactive has officially shuttered the servers of Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor after a brief delay. The servers were originally supposed to shut on the 30th of December. Well, initially believed this would stop users from unlocking the game's trophies, which is what I thought. Trophies developer Monolith Productions has made some last-minute tweaks, hence the delay for the servers shutting. And you can see the changes below. So the Nemesis Forge is no longer available. This is where you can... I actually can't remember what this feature was, but Vendetta missions was where the trophies were. So Vendetta missions are no longer available, but the Repaid in Blood achievement can still be unlocked. Leaderboards are no longer connected to the users score, but the Hunt is My Mistress and Lord of the Ring achievements can still be unlocked. These are the two really difficult DLC trophies, and the WPlay platform is no longer available, so you can't get like a bunch of freebies and stuff from that. They patched the game to allow trophies and achievements to still be unlocked. No one does this. This is incredible. It means that if you haven't played WB's Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor game, you can still play it and you don't have to worry about these trophies not being unlocked. I think all they did is allowed for Vendetta missions to be done offline. They don't require like an online component to them anymore. I don't know how they patched the two other ones, which are kind of tied to like leaderboard stuff. I'm curious how they managed to get around it, but it really shocks me that a game this old gets that. I wonder if it does end up setting a precedent for other developers to do the same thing with their titles when they do shut down servers. Surprisingly, another WB game, Mad Max, which shut down in, I believe, like October last year, or maybe it was November last year, had its servers shut down, and there was a trophy tied to that as well, which you actually can't earn now. They never patched anything into Mad Max. Really surprising seeing them do it to this game and not to that game. Kind of weird standard. So who knows if this does set a precedent for WB. Maybe they did see backlash off the back of Mad Max and they decided to do this, or maybe it was just a Monolith decision. They were just like, oh look, we're just going to patch it. Normally they don't bother. So hats off to Monolith, awesome work on this. Hats off to WB, awesome work on this. Bad work on Mad Max, good work on Shadow of Mordor. I actually rushed and got this one before the trophies were due to turn off because I didn't want to risk it. So I went ahead and played through the game to get these trophies so I didn't have to worry about it, but looks like I didn't have anything to worry about anyway, so good to know. Good to know for trophy hunters. CD Projekt Red released a big statement about apologizing for the state of their game. This is obviously news earlier on in the week, but they've issued a 5-minute long apology talking about how the launch didn't go as anticipated and blah, blah, blah. They have also put out a timeline of when expected content is supposed to come out, with the PS5 and Series X versions slated for like late 2021. I think that's the only main thing to really take away from this. I don't want to talk about these guys anymore. I don't want to give them any more airtime. Here's a little image of their like little roadmap here. So they've got 3 hotfixes which have supposedly been done. Then they've got patch 1.1 and 1.2, which is supposed to fix the majority of problems, and then free DLC content, and then later in the year the PS5 and Series X versions. I don't want to talk about them too much anymore because I think they don't deserve the airtime. I think they're dishonest and they lied to us, and don't really condone that behavior. They've apologized, but I don't think they've necessarily fixed the problem. I think the game needed to be delayed. Obviously the PS5 and Series X versions are nowhere near ready, given they're going to take another 9 or 10 months to release, and that's just insane to me that the game is that far off being ready. The game should have realistically been delayed another 10 months. That's just the way it is. So good on your CD Projekt Red for that. Harry Potter fans will be disappointed to know that Hogwarts Legacy PS5 and PS4 release dates have been delayed. WB Games has announced that Hogwarts Legacy, which was actually scheduled for this year, has now been pushed out of 2021 into 2022. They haven't really told us much about this game, except it's a sort of open world Harry Potter game, or game set in the Harry Potter universe. I guess they just wanted to get ahead of it all and announce the delay now so that people aren't sitting there with anticipation. I know a lot of people are excited about this game. I do get a few comments about this every other day. I'm guessing they just wanted to get on top of it before, people got too excited. There's so much news this week. Wolfenstein developer announces Indiana Jones game with Todd Howard producing. No word on PS5 date, so this could be an Xbox exclusive given Bethesda is now owned by Microsoft. Wolfenstein Machine Games, they produced the last 3 Wolfenstein games. They've done a pretty good job with those games, but they're very hardcore first-person games, so I'm curious to see what this means from an Indiana Jones perspective. We haven't seen anything except it's in development. I wonder if this actually fits into that whole Lucasfilms thing as well, given it's not Star Wars, but it's still a Lucasfilms game technically, so I wonder whether or not that's what happens. And curious to see what Machine Games does with this. Maybe this is their answer to Uncharted and Tomb Raider, so that Microsoft has their own version of that, which could be a cool thing as well. We could see something really, really solid. But Machine Games, like I said, they're a first-person developer, so seeing them make a third-person game is kind of weird. It's a strange decision, especially when Bethesda have other developers that could do a good job with third-person games. So I don't know, we'll wait and see. Watch this space until we hear more information. So CES happened this week as well. Normally the Consumer Electronics Show, where we reveal a bunch of new tech products for the year. We see all the new televisions and some smartphones and just fancy tech things. Sony always have a conference where they show off a bunch of stuff, but normally it doesn't relate to gaming that much. There's normally maybe a reveal or something in there, but not much. This year though, Sony did actually talk about PS5 quite a bit during their conference, and they showed off a fair bit of stuff. So over on Press Start here, we've got an article saying Sony just held their CES 2021 press conference, and whilst there wasn't a lot of news outside of Sony saying that the PS5 was not only the biggest PlayStation launch of all time, but the biggest console launch in history, which we've talked about, it's crazy. They did drop a bunch of release dates and windows for PlayStation 5 games, which I was kind of shocked about, and I haven't actually seen a bunch of people pick up on this either. So we now know that Tokyo Ghostwire and Stray are coming out in October. Tokyo Ghostwire being the Bethesda developed game, the first person game where you're sort of in this ghost version of Tokyo with these superpowers. It looks very, very cool and stylistic. Stray being the game that was revealed at the PlayStation 5 reveal event, where the cat is kind of wandering around the city. They're both slated now for an October date. Kenya, the Bridge of Spirits, which was this kind of cool mascot platformer sort of looking game, is releasing in March 2021, is the same time as Returnal is releasing, which we already knew about. And then Project Athea, which is the Square Enix game, which doesn't even have a name yet, is supposed to be coming out in January 2022, which I don't think is realistic because it doesn't even have a name. And then Pragmata, which was the Capcom game, the Spaceman, has been bumped from 2022 to 2023. So that's quite a few years away. We don't have to worry about that. So this is the full list of things that we kind of found out. So Returnal coming out on March 23rd, but we already knew about that from the Game Awards last year. Kenya, Bridge of Spirits coming out in March 2021. It's weird there's no date next to that, considering it's only like 2 months away. Solar Ash coming out in June 2021. Ghostwire Tokyo, which I think is one to look out for, coming out in the back half of the year, so October 2021. Stray, the same thing. We don't know what that game actually is yet because we haven't seen gameplay, but the cinematic trailer was very cool. Project Athea, actually, forget about that one. Ratchet & Clank is still a 2021 date, and so is Horizon Forbidden West. And then Pragmata, which is the Capcom game. Interestingly, we didn't see anything about God of War. and Sony have announced that God of War is coming out in 2021. So who knows what that means? It might not bode particularly well for God of War, or it might mean that God of War is very late in the year and Horizon and Ratchet are very early in the year if we're looking at the Sony first parties. So don't know what to think about that. I really hope Ratchet's next. I really hope Ratchet is sooner than we think it is. But yeah, Sony revealing a bunch of dates during CES, which is pretty surprising to me. They traditionally don't do something like that. What do you guys think about all of these? And in fact, Horizon and Ratchet, let's talk about those quickly. When do you guys think those games are coming? What are your predictions on those two games specifically? Do you think Ratchet is going to be earlier than Horizon, or Horizon earlier than Ratchet? My bet is still that Ratchet's going to come out somewhere in April, May, and Horizon probably in sort of that August-y time frame, with God of War later in the year, unless God of War's delayed, and then Horizon will probably come out in September. But we just don't know enough about those games yet. So that's a bunch of new PS5 games that you can get excited about. Okay, last couple of stories. We have Rust PS4 rating appears on ESRB. No mention of possible PS5 version. The ESRB has posted on a rating on Rust on the PS4 and Xbox One, confirming the long-awaited console release of the game. It's still in the pipeline following its delay. However, the rating does seem to imply that Rust won't be heading to PS5 or Series X. And then they just have a bunch of stuff here. ESRB, obviously where they get the games rated. This is often where we find out about games coming out before their kind of like dates are announced or anything like that. So those Rust players from PC who are excited to play it on PS4, probably coming to PS4 soon, but no PS5 version, which kind of sucks, but probably is what's expected. Strangely, Killzone franchise's future on PS5 looks non-existent as Sony retires Killzone website. I don't necessarily agree with this. I think they've kind of, basically the crux of this article is that they've taken down Killzone.com. When you visit Killzone.com now, you're granted with a message from Guerrilla stating the website has now been shut down and users will be redirected to PlayStation.com. This isn't that unusual for Sony to do that, I don't think. People are saying it's kind of pointing towards there being no Killzone now, but we do know that Guerrilla has multiple teams at their studio and they are working on a first-person game as well as Horizon, so it's going to be Killzone. There's not really much else they can be working on unless they've got another new IP, which I think would be unusual. Although it is the start of generation, so maybe it is the right time to do something like that. A lot of people have said this means Killzone is dying. I don't necessarily think it is. I just think they've retired it for now because they're not ready to talk about anything yet. If they kind of renew it in the next couple of weeks, obviously it confirms they're still doing something with it, but my guess is it will stay quiet for a while. You know, maybe the website's just not needed. The website's probably more required when the game releases and when they're teasing a game or leading into a game, they can start teasing information on it. But how often are you going to godofwar.com or uncharted.com? It's just not probably that required. Mostly the information is found through YouTube, Twitter, or even PlayStation's websites, the PlayStation Store. But I'd say very rarely are you probably going to the actual game's website. It just doesn't seem practical. And maybe it costs a lot of money to keep running as well when no one's visiting it. Joe's Diner. The meme of the Twitch stream. I know everyone on Twitch has been... We played Joe's Diner on Twitch, by the way. The channel loved it. It was great. So Joe's Diner was one of the few games that wasn't going to be compatible with the PlayStation 5. The developers have gone and patched it. Joe's Diner Update 1.01 patch notes make the game backwards compatible on PS5. Insane. This was like one of 8 games that wasn't going to be playable on PS5 from PS4. Very B, C tier, horror game, first-person horror game. Very average game, I would say. Strangely, they've decided to go ahead and patch it. I'm shocked that they've done this because firstly, who's playing Joe's Diner? Secondly, who's buying Joe's Diner to play it on PS5? I don't know, just surprised me that the developers went ahead and did this. They obviously care about the game more than I thought they did. It says here, Joe's Diner, one of the only games that wasn't playable on the PS5 has been patched today with Joe's Diner 1.01, allowing those who own the game to play it on PS5s. Reported by Twisted Voxel, Joe's Diner 1.01 is the first update for the game and weighs in at around 500 megabytes. The only update to the game that allows compatibility on the PlayStation 5. Super weird. It's super weird that the developers did this because how many copies of Joe's Diner are they going to be selling off the back of this? It just doesn't seem like much, unless there's like a massive Joe's Diner community that I'm just unaware of and that I don't know about. I think this is a strange thing for them to have done. Maybe they saw the memes when the game was announced on that list and everyone's like, what the heck is Joe's Diner? But it means there's one less PS4 game that's not compatible with PS5 now, which is, I guess, a good thing. It means that the entire PS4 library is now almost compatible. I think there's only like 5 or 6 games now on that list which are incompatible with PS5. So cool to see devs rectifying whatever problems were causing their games not to be playable on it. I do wonder what it was as well. It's funny to think about, like a game like Joe's Diner couldn't run on PS5, which is a much more powerful machine, and then like, you know, you've got these games like God of War which run just like superbly well on it. it really does make me think, like, what was wrong with the game? Like, what was going on there? Why wasn't it compatible with PS5? The same thing goes for actually all of those games on that list. Like, what did you do to the game to make it incompatible? I'm very curious, actually, to find out. So, yeah, Joe's Diner, now available on PS5 if you guys want to play that. All right, that is all the news stories we had for this week. It was a massive amount of news, I know, so I apologize that this episode's probably blown out to way more than it even needed to be. These are the new games that have popped up on PlayStation Store. Thankfully, this segment is a lot shorter because there's not actually a bunch of games here. The notable ones, I think, are Neon Chrome and Motocross GP 2020, which is a PS5 version of Motocross GP. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that I haven't heard of. Die Young, I thought, looked kind of interesting. This is the trailer for it here. It looks to be some sort of first-person survival style game. It looks a little bit rough, but it is quite cheap on the PlayStation Store as well, so if you're looking for, I don't know, some sort of survival style game, then this could be something for you. On Chrome looks to be some sort of like top-down, cyberpunk-y style type game, so that could be interesting. It actually says Neon Chrome is a ruthless top-down cyberpunk shooter with roguelike elements, so it's a roguelike. And then MXGP 2020, obviously if you're into motocross games and you're on the PS5, then that's probably something for you to check out. Otherwise, everything on here is stuff that came out in previous weeks that we've already looked at or talked about. All right, PSN Profiles, the new trophies that have popped up this week. I'm gonna look at like 4 games here. So we've got this one here called Gods Will Fall, which definitely intrigued me because it's developed by, well, it wasn't the developer, it was the publisher, Deep Silver. I've never heard of this game before, but Deep Silver publishing it would indicate to me that it's like more of a big deal, so probably like a AA style game here. Massive trophy list. We've got 42 trophies, and this is supposedly coming out at the end of the month. I've never even heard of it before, so very interested in that. This is some gameplay for the game here. So it does look like it could be like an indie style game. Indie sort of isometric style game by the looks of it. Curious that I've never heard of this before though. Anyway, it looks like it's got a full trophy list with a bunch of stuff, killing 10 gods. Let's look at what the gold, are those the golds just up the top there? Yeah, just those 2 golds. Complete a playthrough without using any items, and parry a god 5 times without taking a hit. So like Diablo style game, if you're into that, could be worth checking out. I don't know. We don't know too much about it yet. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World came out this week as well. 1,000 game owners already, so it's relatively popular. I don't want to go through the trophies in this one. It's a beat-em-up style game. If you're into that or you're into Scott Pilgrim, then you'll probably enjoy it. The thing that I wanted to look at here is, what on earth is this trophy image? It's like a picture of him on like the Photoshop transparent background thing. I don't know what the heck that is, Ubisoft. What is that about? That's more mind-boggling than anything. Unless that's like a Scott Pilgrim thing that I just don't know about, and then I'm the fool. That seems a bit of a strange background image to use there. Did Scott Pilgrim on PS3 have a platinum? I don't think it did. No, it didn't. So if you play it on PS4, you can get a platinum trophy out of it. If you played it on PS3, you can't. So I guess that's kind of a big deal that they put a platinum in it. It's just a game with all the DLC by the looks of it. So kind of cool if you're into Scott Pilgrim. Excitingly this week, Hitman 3's trophies went live, and lo and behold, we have a platinum trophy. Hitman have finally put one in. Hitman 1 and 2 on the PS4 didn't have platinum trophies. No idea why they decided not to, but on Hitman 3 they decided to put a platinum trophy in. So a bunch of trophies here. We've got some DLC packs here as well for Hitman 1, Hitman 2 included. Tons and tons and tons of trophies. We have 1 gold. What is that? Only 1 gold? Everything else is silver and bronze. That's why it's such a big list. Complete untouchable. Weird, hey. Hitman is coming out really soon as well. I think next week. So if you're into Hitman, you can now get a platinum out of it as well. That's really all the trophies I want to talk about. There's this game here called Jank Brain, which I clicked on because the name is funny. Jank Brain. Complete level 6 to 5. Play brain vitamins to unlock 8 levels. Find a secret exit. This just looks like a puzzle game of some sort. Brain trainee game. The name's funny. Jank Brain. I think it's a good name. It looks like a platformer. This looks terrible. What on earth is that? Who knows if it is or if it's going to be good. That's Jank Brain. But that's all the trophies and everything I want to talk about this week on the show. I know this was a very news-heavy episode of the Platinum Trophy Show, but there was a lot of news this week and it kind of called for it. So let me know your reactions and correspondence to any of the news we've talked about. Curious to get your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will be replying to comments like I always do when you take the time to message me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy this episode, give it a thumbs down. And don't forget to subscribe if you're a new viewer as well. I would really appreciate that. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I know this has been a little bit of a long one. And I will see y'all in the next video tomorrow or in next week's episode of the Platinum Trophy Show. Until then, guys, game on.